In order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. Ha, gotcha.
You have got me, I'm trying to work that through in my head.
Hello. Thinking. By virtue, it has a tendency of offending people.
If you're thinking of trying that on, don't. Not your shade.
You see this quite often in comedy, with comedians like Jerry Seinfeld saying having to always be nice or correct, it's destroying comedy, it's limiting their ability to say what they find funny. It is hurting their ability to think up fresh content altogether without ending up being dry. Why is this? Have you noticed that when people adhere to one fixed position, it has to be this way or that way? They stop thinking altogether and they repeat the same things over and over again to reaffirm why they are right and you are wrong.
I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong.
They end up following the script of authority. Regardless of your position in life, I know every one of you sees this, especially considering your access to the internet. But the irony is, we are all guilty of it all the same. This is me. It is you. It happens by virtue of being a human being. No, not just that. It is a byproduct of nature itself. If we look throughout every organism on this planet, we find they desire to expend as little energy as possible, like the plant, to be able to fix your roots into the ground and just take in sunlight. We correlate playing it safe and just doing what is working, adhering to the method or ideology, as increasing our likelihood of survival. And of course, a part of that must be true, otherwise, why would nature do it? Thus we find having an ideology or fixed method is not bad. Like punching technique, there has been a philosophy of striking that more consistently leads to success over time. But nature knows all the same that the universe is always changing. Even the plant knows, despite having its roots in the ground, that it must produce more tannum and become more poisonous, otherwise the herbivores will come along, continue to consume them without consequence, thus cease. It must adapt or disappear. That is the double edge to a fixed ideology or method. And we see the same thing in martial arts. The method having consistent success, but the best devising a plan that differs from the rest. Often we find they look wildly different as a result. But because of them, because of their courage to be different, they change everything we thought we once knew. Thus they contribute to the evolution of our methods and ideologies as a whole. Interestingly though, every individual who's mustered the courage to be different, they were met with tremendous conflict, tremendous backlash. Let's look at an example of something that should trigger most martial artists. Most of us know how to throw a proper punch. Thus, observing this, we find this very annoying. He is throwing arm punches with his elbows heavily flared, whilst using no body weight from footwork, pivot, or hips. It is a basic concept that he is violating, and so naturally, as a tenet of nature, to criticize this is absolutely normal. It conflicts what we know, thus we reject it because we do not want to damage our current understanding with something that is not true, thus less effective. But what if he were to test himself and somehow, using this method, magically dominate? Then you and I would have to come to accept it or reject it using some other excuse. Maybe he has phenomenal genetics compensating for the technique, or maybe these are actually feints to confuse the enemy. But before that could happen, he or someone else would have to test the validity of this technique in practical situations. Most of us knowing though that this would probably not work very effectively, and we will continue to think this until proven otherwise. That is normal. More so than that, it is right in accordance with Mother Nature. Thus we find getting triggered and attacking something that deviates from the norm is actually very healthy. It's nature's way of testing which recessive phenotypes become dominant phenotypes. It is integral to finding new mathematical formulas. It is even science's empirical method when done correctly. You keep attacking what you believe to be true, and if it consistently holds ground against the harsh elements of Mother Nature, then of course, it is not perfect. It still has holes. Nothing is ever perfect, but it becomes a more consistent path towards success. Now, if it does not meet that criteria, and it turns out to be a complete failure, here's what most people do not understand. Failure. That is perfectly fine, because if you can recollect yourself and try again, you attain wisdom to do better the next time. If this kid kept failing and kept adjusting his method until he found that one that consistently worked, he would evolve. He would be a pioneer. That's why thinking and offense go hand in hand. Why thinking and the whip must go hand in hand. Why the two need each other. We need people to come up with something new, but we also need people to point the finger and say it isn't. Because when the two work together, that hammer and forge has you inch closer and closer to the truth. That's why always being nice in hopes of not offending anyone is actually a huge problem. Of course, sometimes it feels like it's not worth the effort. Why waste your time when life is already pounding you, putting so much on your plate? But stifling the dialogue, it inhibits our ability to discover new variables to work with in reality. What you get instead is degeneration. If we were to just accept this guy's techniques without testing them, just to be nice, imagine that in the octagon. And if you don't react to it a certain way, it might hurt his feelings, so you have to pretend it really hurts, or face severe penalties like losing your ability to participate in the arena. Would that not be crazy? The result would be completely skewing the truth, and so, if someone were to think this was real, then test it on the street, they could severely get hurt. They would be easy victims to those who actually knew what they were doing. I would not want to see that. Thus we find, we must acknowledge, inevitably, the truth will always come out, one way or another. It is impossible to fully shelter yourself from the light, because at the end of the day, we know to continue forward, we need it. Now understanding this, it provides a valuable lesson. Failure is okay. Criticism is okay. But you know what's not okay? Pain. Because that is what this is all about. We are afraid of pain, discomfort. We just want to be the plant that sinks its roots into the soil and absorbs sunlight. But even then, the plant knows it must change to its ever-changing environment. Or, simply put, cease. To that end, if you have the courage to be different and bold, I commend you. For you are a pioneer who will reap the rewards of this plane. But you must expect tribulations. You must be grateful for them, for they are your hammer and forge. Through that hammering, you will become wiser, sharper with an end, wielding the edge of truth. It's as Miyamoto Musashi had said, the path that leads to truth is littered with the bodies of the ignorant. Thus, those who seek it, wield it, standing on top. But we need to see both sides of the coin. We need those who test you with fire, but also those who hold a new lump of iron, for both are valuable when forging the sword. To that end, with Yin and Yang as your guide, let your soul be moved by foolish dreams, but embrace the hammer along that path, for the two are what forge the truth. Side note, I hope this does also provide a deeper appreciation for the arena. In this harsh environment, we learn what is true through constant conflict, but also beautifully learn that truth may vary upon the individual. Again, a yin and yang between the unique individual correlation to the universe. You. Thus, honestly, what better way to ensure this game always stays exciting than to incorporate the individual, unique, and consistent truths of you. I wish you the best on your journey, my friend. If you'd like more work from me, please subscribe. That's definitely great for the channel. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. It's good karma. And until next time, peace.